Hey, everybody. On this episode of the podcast, we discuss the upcoming projects from hit makers like Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto, and our official Made for Movies review of The Little Things, which was released this year on HBO Max. We hope you like it, everybody. See ya.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, what would happen if your mobile phone killed you?
We are tonight's entertainment.
I would rather watch Beautician and the Beast.
People don't forget.
And here we go.
All right. We are back once again. Your favorite movie, TV, news podcast, Made for Movies. What's up, man? How's beautiful the South? I'll just say the South because I'm in the North and it sucks.
South is it's actually very sunny today, so it's always sunny in Philadelphia. And always sunny today.
That's nice. That's a decent show. I've heard of it. Yeah, this episode we're gonna talk about The Little Things. That'll be our main topic of discussion. The movie was just released on HBO Max. Pretty interesting movie, to say the least. Before we get into the nuts and the nitty-gritty of the movie, we've got some decent news coming out for some of the characters or some of the actors that are in The Little Things, starting, of course, with our favorite Jared Leto, a.k.a. the Joker. I just saw him in a little trailer. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's that 17-hour movie coming out of a movie we've already seen.
Oh, what's that? The Justice League number 7 or Suicide Squad 12?
Yep, that was it. Yeah,
I don't even know what year we're in.
It's kind of funny. So they're re-releasing Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was a 90-minute movie that is now a 4-hour movie. So should be fun. I think it's really funny that he obviously brought back Jared Leto's character from Suicide Squad, gave him like a makeover. But as far as we know, he's in this movie for less than a minute, is what I gather, and he's being heavily marketed as part of this movie, which is a little frustrating to me. I don't know about you.
I think we have some experience with this, and that is going back to Suicide Squad of 2016. That was another movie that they started, had a specific plot for, and then completely changed. It's very similar to Justice League. The DC universe just can't seem to get their stuff together. Where Jared Leto plays the Joker, and he does a fantastic job, portraying one of the best characters in all of television, film, you name it, comics, etc.
Are you sweet talking me? I love this guy.
The best part of Suicide Squad is Jared Leto as the Joker, and he's in it for maybe 5 minutes total, but was marketed as the star of the movie. Like, that was what it's going to be. So everyone got excited. And luckily, I had a few cocktails while I was in the theater watching Suicide Squad, so I got through it. But boy, that was brutal.
I wouldn't want you to break those perfect porcelain cap teeth when the juice hits your brain.
Yeah,
Are we in for that again?
I mean, that's a very hard movie to rewatch, that's for sure. And the funny thing about that is, apparently there is a Ayer cut, who's the director. David Ayer directed Suicide Squad, where he claims it's R-rated, very similar to how Justice League is going to be R-rated, and that Jared Leto has way more screen time in that movie. He almost called it like the Joker cut of that movie. So,
okay,
I hope that the Snyder Cut is good enough to warrant seeing that, because that's actually something that I would love to see. Apparently they have like 3 hours of unused Jared Leto as Joker footage. Warner Brothers, man, what are you guys doing? Like, I don't understand.
Just put it out. Yeah. Let's see it. Give the people what they want.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for he's a weird dude. I love him as an actor. He's done so many great roles. He's definitely a weird guy, so I don't really feel bad for him. but I do think he got kind of like a bad deal with the Joker. People were ragging on him pretty bad that he did a terrible job, and I feel like we didn't really see his performance. It's kind of how I felt. Some of the scenes he was in were terrible, not because of him, but they're just poorly edited and poorly shot, and the dialogue made no sense. So
You want no beef? You don't want no beef? You don't want no beef?
It made no sense. Like, yeah, okay. This is what we're doing now. Yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see how much he actually is in the new Justice League Snyder Cut, but I'm expecting, like you said, it'll probably be less than a minute. From the trailer, you can tell he's not a big part of it, and it's even that part of the trailer is going back to Batman versus Superman. We keep coming back to this movie,
Yeah.
Martha.
Save Martha!
But in the what's called the nightmare scene, where Bruce as Batman gets kind of a glimpse of the future.
can we just get that movie where he's just in the future the whole time?
It would be so good. I know I would thoroughly enjoy that. But it's basically talking about what would happen if the bad guys win in Justice League. But overall, yeah, like Jared Leto has some other stuff coming out. I think Morbius, where he's going to play Dr. Morbius. Another, I think that was Marvel, right? It was like Spider-Man-ish universe.
Yeah,
Venom,
he's like a villain,
stuff like that.
Yep. Vampire villain of some kind. I will say one thing about Jared Leto in the Justice League trailer is the design looks a lot better.
Are you sweet talking me?
I think that was probably the hardest part for people to get by, was him just being covered in tattoos with like no explanation and like gold teeth or whatever he had going on. All that stuff is gone. It looks like a very kind of drawn back design. He's got long hair. He's wearing a SWAT vest with like police badges from all the cops that he's killed. So like pretty cool design of the Joker. And I think that will just by default make however long he's on screen better. But yeah, he's doing that Morbius movie. I'll be shocked if that movie A is good and B anyone cares to go see it. Like I feel like it's that old mistake. Like it's like, oh, well, everyone liked Venom, so let's just make more movies about villains for Spider-Man. It's like, no, people like Venom because Venom's just a popular character.
What'd you do last Wednesday night when you said you went to see a band?
I went to the movies.
With who?
By myself.
What'd you see?
Spider-Man 3.
And Tom Hardy is a liked actor. Like they get so drawn up in these universes and trying to. They already messed this up before with the Amazing Spider-Man, where that second movie had like 18 villains and it was like a backdoor pilot for a Sinister Six movie. It was terrible.
I like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Not enough people in an everyday setting will know what the heck Morbius is even, and that's correct. I don't think a lot of people are going to go see it initially. I am more optimistic about it being that it's not a DC movie, it's a Marvel production. So even like Ant-Man has funny parts, like if there's anything funny in it that Marvel puts a little twist on, like that could be okay. Venom, obviously no one thought that would be, as successful as it was, like you said, but it turned out to have entertaining parts and is setting up some other stuff. But it's more of what people know. Like they know Venom from Spider-Man as his number one enemy. So
let's point out though, it is Sony Marvel and not Disney Marvel.
Not
so. Could be good, could be bad. But yeah, it really kind of looks like Blade to me. I'm like, isn't this the plot of Blade, like a vampire or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of Blade-like characters out there in Spider-Man's world. But yeah, another Academy Award-winning actor in The Little Things is Rami Malek, best known as for his role as Freddie Mercury in the Queen movie. We'll get into his performance, but he's got some stuff coming out too pretty soon here, namely being an enemy in a Bond movie with Daniel Craig.
Yeah, how about that? This movie, do we actually think this movie's ever coming out? Because it's been delayed for 3 years now, I feel like. So this is the 25th Bond movie, I believe. No Time to Die. The trailer looks great. So obviously this is the 4th Daniel Craig movie in the new series, starting with Casino Royale, right?
It'll be his 5th.
His fit. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
'Cause he
Spectre.
has- the Spectre, which no one saw, and
see-
Quantum of Solace, which no one cares about. Skyfall and Casino Royale are definitely the only two I care about.
So I think what we should do is, if this one is good, you just kind of eliminate those two, and you have a really, really good trilogy. But yeah, I love Casino Royale. It's one of my favorite action movies.
I'm sorry. That lost hand nearly killed me.
It's really the first movie that made me love James Bond. Like, I like GoldenEye. I've gone back and watched it. It's a great movie. Also, they were directed by the same person, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I hated Quantum of Solace. I think it's one of the worst. It's just terrible.
It's terrible. It's really, really bad. Yeah, enough said about that. But,
Skyfall.
Rami Malek. Yeah, Skyfall is one of the best movies ever. Like, just as far as action movies, as well as like one of the best villains, and just good story overall. But yeah, I think Rami Malek playing a Bond villain suits his talents as an actor, just playing like weirdos.
Yeah, so
versus
in this movie,
what we'll talk about in a second, but
it looks like he's wearing a mask of some kind in this movie, like for the majority of it, at least in the trailer. It looks like his face is burnt. So I'm looking forward to his, him wearing a mask, so I don't have to stare at his creepy face. It's not his face that's creepy. It's like his mannerisms creep me out.
He needed no makeup to play Freddie Mercury. It's a little known fact about Rami. I'm just kidding. He definitely needed makeup, but he looks like a weirdo. So
yeah, he is. He just creeps me out. I don't know what it is about him, but especially after watching The Little Things, I actually would say I was looking forward to his upcoming roles before The Little Things, and now I'm concerned. We'll get into that in a second here. And then one last thing you brought up to me is that Jared Leto is going to be in a new Tron movie. Is that right?
It says that they just announced Tron 3, which I just found out that the second Tron movie I thought was a remake of the original Tron was actually the second Tron. Correct. So I'm way out on Tron. I need to either watch it or just continue living my life. But
sometimes I feel like they just put out news that they know there's no intention that it'll ever come out, and they're just like, all right, how can we distract people from the world ending? Let's just pick this actor. We'll pick, all right, let's just say Jared Leto is going to be in a Tron movie. We'll throw that out there. If this movie ever comes out, I'll be surprised. When is the next Olympics? I don't know.
You like her? Yeah. You definitely don't want to call her. When is the next Olympics?
But that's...
Yes. Yeah, it should be interesting. They also have, as announced, a solo Joker and Harley Quinn project with Jared Leto as Joker again.
That will never
come
out.
Never will happen unless it's just pieced together from the Suicide Squad footage they haven't used. So, yeah, not getting my hopes up for that.
It'll just be another
let's talk about
music video with Rick Ross.
Oh. Oh, yeah, here comes Batman. Got him. Yeah, that's horrible. Go see Suicide Squad. You gotta watch it at least once. But then a top 5 favorite actor of mine is Denzel Washington, of course, because he plays himself in every movie that he ever does, and just him being him is enough for me.
He's pretty cool, isn't he?
He is pretty cool. He's done a lot of stuff. I rarely have a movie of his that I don't like, except for Safe House with Ryan Reynolds. I'll just call that a big steaming pile of garbage right now. But yeah, he hasn't actually done a movie in a few years since Equalizer 2 came out.
Correct. And
until The Little Things.
Doesn't look like he has too much coming out either, right? He's laying pretty low.
Yeah, basically some kind of Macbeth play. So he plays Macbeth in the movie.
I mean, that sounds.
Not sure if it's going to be. Yeah, not sure if it's going to be like O, which was Othello set in regular times, like as a basketball movie.
I love that movie.
Josh Hartnett. That's a pretty good movie. I'm actually going to watch that today, I think. Because it reminds me of high school, because I was in high school when that came out. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like Save the Last Dance. I'll watch that any day of the week. But yeah, I like Macbeth as a story. Obviously, Shakespeare knew what he was doing on some respects. So I'd be curious to know more about that movie. It says it's coming out this year. Who knows? Might be part of a HBO Max type of thing, but
I don't believe you.
no, Denzel is always a welcome sight in a movie. And then there's the little things.
All right,
so do you want to dive right into this?
News. So yeah, this will be our official made for movies, The Little Things review.
It's the little things, Jimmy. It's the little things that rip you apart. It's the little things that get you caught.
But yeah, let's dive in. So this movie.
Let's talk about some of the little things on this movie.
Well, first, before we
the
get
littlest
into
thing about it,
let's talk about Mr. John Lee Hancock. So that is the
he
director.
is a director. Yes,
most
known probably
director.
for The Blind Side.
Yeah.
I like The Blind Side. I think that's a decent movie. He wrote Snow White and the Huntsman, The Alamo, which is a long time ago. No one ever saw.
He did The Rookie.
Yeah, he doesn't have too much to his name. Yeah, The Rookie. That's a pretty good one.
So what I'll say about all his movies is never have I watched one of his movies and thought, like, this movie is good because of the directing. To me, John Lee Hancock seems like he's just like a company guy. Like, he's the guy they call, like, hey, we got to finish this movie on time. Like, he's just a robot. Like, he has no personality.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, we need you to say action, make this movie, make sure it doesn't go over budget, like all these stuff. And he obviously is good at something. Like, the studio likes working with him. He's probably like a decent dude. But as far as the director,
he's like lean Six Sigma black belt certified. Like, he's just a project manager. He'll come in there, get everything done, get it the most efficient way, make some money, call it a day.
So for those of you who don't know, he actually wrote The Little Things in, I think, 1992. So this is a guy that didn't make his first movie until like 2002. So this is like one of the very first things he ever wrote. And he's been trying to get it made, for the better part of almost 30 years now. And it almost feels like this is a movie that they were like, hey, listen, if you keep making all these, very kind of boring movies for us and getting them done, eventually we'll pay you back. And not only that, but we're just gonna like hire every Oscar winner ever to be in it for you to cover up for this awful screenplay that you've turned into us. But so, for those of you who don't know, The Little Things is set in 1990, I believe.
Yes.
Which is when he, wrote the screenplay. A little bit after that.
Yeah, it's funny that they went with that choice to just keep it in the 90s, because they could have just probably saved a bunch of money by making it present day. Instead, they had to get the outfits and the cars and all the stuff that was in the 90s.
The problem with that is that if they set this movie in present day, the movie would not exist.
It's the little things, Jimmy.
So the only
because of cell phones and everything else technology-wise that's out. Oh, that's right.
This movie was legitimately only set in the early 90s so that it could be made with every plot hole ever made. But yeah, let's I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
It sounds like you have some initial thoughts on the movie. What are your general feelings about The Little Things? Oh, man. Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, Rami Malek, 3 Oscar-winning actors lead this cast. Go.
Yeah, I'll say this. So, I remember seeing the trailer for this movie, and I thought it looked really good. I was very excited to see it. It's a well put together trailer by the boys over at Warner Brothers. But this movie overall, I'm not a fan of it. It's one of my least favorite movies ever. And not that it's like the worst movie ever, but just the decisions from the characters throughout the entire movie, the lack of any coherent plot or reason for it being made. I still don't understand why the movie was made.
It's little things.
What? Yeah, why was it made? Yes, I don't get it. Like, it should have stayed in 1992 when this guy wrote it. Like,
there's a reason
it's
that
not a movie. Yeah, it's just a thing.
There's a reason they didn't make this movie for 30 years. And I will say, had this movie come out in 1994 or 1995, like before The Bone Collector, and when every Ashley Judd movie was coming out that had this exact
plot. Double Jeopardy, To Catch a Spider.
It's possible this would be like a movie that like 20 years later you're like showing a girl, oh yeah, like I used to like this movie when I was a kid. It's really old and doesn't make any sense, but it's got Denzel in it.
Yep.
But yeah, man, overall, I'll say, we'll dive into it a little bit, but I was not a fan, to put it lightly. How about you?
Yeah, there's very few movies I leave where I'm actually like angry, and this was one of them. And for some previous reference, the standalone Joker movie that came out in 2019, that made me very angry. It was just I kept wondering when the movie was going to get good because of the actors. Like I literally was pinning all of my hopes on 3 superb actors. One of them who just happens to be a super weirdo trying to play a normal guy. It doesn't work. It's like if they had switched the 2 characters, I bet you Jared Leto could play a normal guy better than Rami Malek can. So if that sets up the movie for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, there's probably going to be some spoilers coming. We haven't said that yet, but basically there's no plot. It is just a story of, okay, this could happen to any town, anywhere, and they're trying to make it better by hiring the best actors to do it. It's a horrible movie. I literally am like, it's possibly a 0 out of 10, but we'll get into the rankings in a little bit.
But yeah,
I hated it. I hated it.
So you liked it. That's good to hear. I'm glad someone enjoyed it. But no, so from here on, if you have seen it, we're going to dive into spoilers. If you haven't seen it, you are one of the lucky ones. Just enjoy what we have to say about it and stay as far away from it as possible. There's nothing good to be had here, unfortunately. But yeah, so we'll dive right into this. The start of the movie, the opening scene with the girl in the car, and she's driving her car. And then, there's a car behind her, and maybe it's following her, and she starts to immediately cry. And the car, honestly, has been following her for 4 seconds before she's in full tears and speeding down the road. And I'm just thinking, like, in 1992, were people that paranoid? I'm pretty sure, like, hitchhikers were a thing then. So why was she so scared?
And to set it off, it's a 1-lane highway in California's desert. Like, if there's a car behind you, there's not a car. It just can't. It's not going to get around you. It's also like, unless they were going to speed up and go past you on the side, like the other lane going the opposite way, like, yeah, there's going to be cars on the road with you. Why are you crying right now?
That would actually be
like,
really
okay.
funny. The movie, I would have given the movie a 10 out of 10 if it was just someone trying to get by her and they passed her, and that the movie ended with that.
How's the trunk space?
Or if it was like Super Troopers, where they were just like messing around with the guys in the car, like,
Yeah.
like that would have made it better. Like, instead, she somehow turns out okay by pulling over. No one finds her.
Yeah. So
And,
first of all,
like nothing comes from it. You don't find out who it is. Like,
nope. Never comes back. So she pulls over at this gas station, and as everyone does when they're running from a potential killer, they leave their car door open with the keys in the ignition, and she goes and bangs
car
on
running.
She bangs on this abandoned gas station where there's no one been there since for over 30 years. So then the killer, who we don't see, just walks up and takes her keys out of the car. Again, could have just been a bystander who's like, "Hey, ma'am, you left your car running. Let me turn it off for you." And then she just starts
so stupid
running through like a cornfield, and no one's chasing her. There's no killer chasing her or anything. And then she jumps in front of a truck, and it stops. And that's the opening of the movie. No,
and then we see Denzel. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well, before we see Denzel, we see 2 characters who never show up again. They're at a restaurant, Black Angus beef restaurant, and the G in Angus is out, and the sign says Black Anus. This is the only joke in the movie. It has the characters in the scene are not in the scene. Like, at this point, we are now 9 minutes into this movie, and I'm telling you, it was. I thought someone was messing with me. I was like, "Is this really the opening?" It's the worst opening to any movie ever, ever.
Yes,
in the history of movies,
it might be.
It's, in my opinion, it's the worst.
If I go see a John Lee Hancock movie, I expect that from here on out. Is some kind of funny joke like that.
I prefer Herbie Hancock.
What number did you call?
2, 4,
Niner, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I can't hear you. You're trailing off. And did I catch a niner in there?
It's like Tommy Boy. Good call out. But yeah, I was furious after the first scene. I just made no sense what she was doing. It set it up. It was 1990. I get there's no cell phones, but yeah, like leaving your keys in the car while it's running. It's terrible. It's terrible.
So then
Black anus is another bad thing.
So we'll keep it moving here. Denzel looks asleep in this movie for the first 30 minutes, right? Not too much going on. He's just kind of investigating a potential link to a murder that may connect to a case that he was a part of. Rami Malek's character comes in straight out of Law and Order SVU.
I can assure you all we are taking a 24/7 all hands on deck approach to these cases.
Now, Ice-T. If Ice-T was Rami Malek's character, this might have been the greatest movie of all time. But yeah,
You mean like when someone smokes too many cigarettes?
Or does too many scratchy lotteries?
Or does too many scratchy lotteries?
Oh, I get it. You mean like when someone drinks too much? Or like when someone shops too much with credit card? Or like when someone plays too many scratchy lotteries?
Pretty funny stand-up comedian John Mulaney. His favorite show is Law and Order SVU, of which Ice-T has been a member of the staff for 25 years. And he's still shocked every time there's a special victim in his special victims unit.
Yo, you telling me this dude gets off on little girls with pigtails? Like, yeah, he's a pedophile. You work in the sex crimes division. You're going to have to get used to that.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
that would have been 10 times better casting for a detective, a regular human being detective instead of Rami Malek. He is a stone cold weirdo, and that's all he should play. He cannot play a normal human being. His character made me more upset than any other part of the movie, just because he could. It was like watching Freddie Mercury try to play a 90s detective.
I want to nail the bastard. For all of the girls he killed.
Like, literally.
It's like I said, going into this movie, I would have told you I thought he was a good actor. Just based off the couple things I've seen him in, I was like, this guy's got potential. I saw the James Bond thing. I thought he was going to be good. It's one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
Yes.
It brings back like haunting memories of like Cuba Gooding Jr. after he won the Oscar, or, you know, like these people, they win the Oscar. It's like the curse for some reason.
Sure.
Now, it's not entirely all his fault because the dialogue is bad, the movie is bad, the scripts are bad, everything is bad. He clearly has a director who doesn't know how to direct.
Things probably changed a lot since you left.
You still got to catch him, right?
Yeah.
Not that much has changed then, right?
But at the same time, it looks like he is an alien that took over someone else's body and like doesn't, like, you know, in Men in Black when they're like trying to stay under the radar. That's what he reminded me of in this. But yeah, so we're about 30 minutes into this movie, and there's no Jared Leto yet, which at this point he's had still more screen time than he was in Suicide Squad as the Joker.
Yeah, and Denzel's just basically reuniting with all of his former cop buddies, and it's one after the other. Of course, they all liked him. He's no longer there. It's like, couldn't be more predictable as far as that part of it. And they just don't get to it. Like, I don't understand how, like, a police investigation, they're like, hey, let's go grab some breakfast. Like, they seem to get more meals in this movie than I've ever seen. Like, a movie, like, that's the part you skip. Like, that's why it's a movie, is that we can avoid all these instances of them eating and packing and doing all the stuff we have to do that Aaron, they don't, because it's a movie.
It's the little things, though, that matter.
Just the little things.
You know,
yes, there it is. The first Little Things joke on the Little Things podcast. Perfect.
Yes. Also, they do, so everyone knows, if you want to play a drinking game, take a shot every time Denzel says it's the little things, and you will die. Hammered.
Or death.
Or death. We're not responsible for anyone.
Yeah, this trademark not be repeated without express permission of NFL. Okay.
So that's what that feels like.
All right, we said our piece.
So
this is not a financial advice or life advice podcast.
So it looks like Denzel realized, because I wouldn't say he's bad in the movie, but it looks like he realized the movie is bad and then just decided to not try. Like he knew.
Phoned it in, yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, all right. It looks like he did someone a favor to be in this thing. Another really weird scene to me was when Denzel goes over to Rami Malek's house, and Rami Malek's daughter, who looks like she wants nothing to do with her father, kisses Denzel like on the lips. Like it was just like a weird, like she goes up and kisses him. She just met him, which like I don't understand why it was in the movie, because I mean, again, we've seen Rami Malek interact with his kids a couple scenes, and they look like they're like, "You're not my dad. Who are you?"
Yeah, his forearms that are underneath his skin are trying to give them a hug, and they just can't get out. It's really awkward. Just any scene with Rami Malek, basically in the movie, you just like he's either trying too hard or he just doesn't know how to do it, and especially playing a father. Towards the end, he looks like he's becoming more himself because of what happens in the movie, but it's just it's a very awkward movie. I think that's the number one word I'd use to describe it. It's just like nothing's really happening from time to time. It's just conversations about stuff that maybe happened. Like,
yeah. One of my favorite scenes is when Rami Malek and Denzel, they're in like a pretty serious argument or like a heated debate, and Rami Malek asked Denzel, he's like, "Why are you trying to solve a case that's 5 years old?" And Denzel just stares at him, and the scene just cuts, and they never address it again, and it just switches to a different day. It's one of the worst cuts I've ever seen in a movie ever.
Terrible.
But it's leading up. We're like now an hour into the movie, right? And our boy Jared Leto finally is starting to make appearances. Denzel is starting to connect. Could this be the guy that was involved in my murder case, right? So I think it's really funny that on one of the victims, there are bite marks on the female victim. So I think this is the best part of the entire movie. So there are bite marks on the victim. So Denzel gets the idea to go through Jared Leto's trash. And when he goes through his trash, he finds a pizza box. And in the pizza box, there is pizza that has been bitten. So Denzel takes the pizza to the coroner.
Yep.
Yeah, and he asks her if she can match the bites on the pizza to the victim. And this is like a 5-minute scene where she's analyzing the pizza. I swore it was right out of It's Always Sunny. And the scene just ends with her going, "It's inconclusive."
Literally the buildup of the year. You're like, oh, that's actually pretty smart. Oh, good job, Detective Denzel. Fail. Literally the worst thing ever. Yeah, you all know how we eat pizza with all 20 teeth in our mouth, like every bite. That's exactly what he was going for. But yeah, it's like basically just an excuse to get Denzel on the screen with that actress. Basically, that's it. Like it and they never address that ever again either. It's like, let's just make sure the movie has no tie downs or anything gets covered up or filled up. Like it's just each thing gets worse and worse and worse, it seems.
So I got a couple more here. Just these amazing moments that now that I'm thinking about it, I think I actually enjoyed this movie, I think.
Oh no.
So when Denzel, he's at a payphone on the side of the road, and he calls Rami Malek to see where the body was found on a case, and he just says, hey, Denzel says to Rami Malek, which mile marker was it at? And Denzel's sitting at mile marker 467, and Rami Malek just goes 467, and then he hangs up the phone on him. He doesn't like ask him for a follow-up, like, well, why do you need to know that? Why is that important to this case we're trying to solve? He doesn't say bye. He's just kind of rude about it. But anyway, so from there, we're in like this cat and mouse game between Denzel and Jared Leto, where they're like following each other on the highway.
You must really like my car.
I do. How's the trunk space?
How's the trunk space?
Don't really understand what's happening, but it all leads to them bringing in Jared Leto for an interrogation scene.
Yeah.
And this is really the first Jared. I mean, we're now 75 minutes into this movie, and he's said 3 things for his Golden
Still
Globe.
a little mystery around his character, which makes it maybe not a 0 to me. Like, Jared Leto's pretty good as we get to hear from him more.
Yeah.
Especially in like the interrogation rooms. He kind of knows, it seems familiar to him. So him playing that character, I think is pretty good. But then they start talking outside of the interrogator's room, and things go a little haywire.
Yeah, I would say the interrogation scene in general, oh my God. I don't even remember who said it. I want to say it was Denzel. One of them says to Jared Leto, "Your dick is as hard as Chinese arithmetic." When he's looking at the photos of the dead bodies. I'm pretty sure it's Rami Malek, actually. He's showing Jared Leto.
No, I think it is Denzel.
Okay.
Because he's like, I expected him to have this reaction to this. But yeah, just a weird, creepy thing to set up, and it was almost like, the Black Angus Part 2.
Yeah,
just a kind of a weird twist.
Obviously, at this point, we still don't know if Jared Leto is the killer. So they draw up this plan, Rami Malek and Denzel's character, to break into Jared Leto's house. Right, let's get some evidence on this guy, even though this is completely illegal and against everything that police officers stand for. No warrant, no anything.
Right.
My favorite part of this plan is, because Rami Malek was so rude to Jared Leto during the interrogation scene, he beats him up a little bit, roughs him around. Mm-hmm. Rami Malek calls Jared Leto's character, and he invites him out to dinner to make up for it. And that's how they get him out of the house, so that Denzel can sneak in. And I just thought
who would say yes to that?
Oh my goodness gracious. But the best part is
Denzel,
Jared Leto falls for it. He actually goes to this restaurant, and he's like, "Oh, I guess he's not here yet." He's like, "Let me order a what does he order? It's like a very kiddie drink,
chocolate milk or something like that,
apple juice
or apple juice, yeah,
something very weird." While Denzel's going through his house, but yeah, so. Just still, this movie's heading towards the climax now, where Jared Leto...
Yeah, Denzel almost gets caught in the apartment by the actual police. And then Jared Leto and Rami Malek are again speaking words that I'm not hearing because I'm just so freaking infuriated by how terrible the movie is. And they get in the car. They take a nice long drive.
Why? Does Rami Malek confronts Jared Leto, pulls a gun on him for no reason at all, and he's like, "Tell me you did it." And he's like, "Well, how about this? I'll just take you to the bodies, but you have to come with me alone or whatever." So for some reason, Rami Malek agrees to this plan without telling anyone, and just gets in the car with him and drives. And then Denzel's kind of following them, even though he has no idea where they are. He just knows to follow them to this.
He somehow found out where they were.
Yeah.
He finds them in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
On a magical whim.
He's just driving back and forth, and he's like, "Oh yeah, there's a gate. Oh look, the gate's unlocked." Well, clearly if there's an unlocked gate within a 500-mile radius, it's exactly where my friend went. But I think it leads to one of the best endings ever for a movie, in that Jared Leto has Rami Malek out in this field, and he basically tells him, "Oh, I buried the body here, but you have to dig it up." And he starts to dig it up. Denzel's still driving
Rami Malek
around.
actually agrees to dig it up,
as
opposed to using his gun to make Jared Leto do it.
Yeah,
and then he digs 20 holes,
literally,
and Rami Malek is still digging
to this day.
I'm like, what is going on? Why would you keep digging if you didn't find a body in the first one?
Just keep digging.
Okay, no,
just keep digging. But yeah, no,
just
this goes
digging
on for about 20 minutes. He just and it's not like a fast montage of him digging. He digs the one hole, and then Jared Leto's like, "No, it's over here," and he digs another hole.
And then he goes and digs that one.
Yeah, it's just literally nonstop. it hits the point where eventually I think Rami Malek realizes that he's in a bad movie, so he decides to smash Jared Leto's head in with a shovel.
What are you doing? Burying you. I'm alive! I'm alive! You're waking the neighbors! Shut up! Close your eyes. Let the dirt just shower over you.
One hit, dead.
No, that's the thing. Like, I honestly thought, like, okay, this movie's going to redeem itself. Jared Leto will end up being the villain. He's just tiring out Rami Malek using head games and making him dig. He's going to kill Rami Malek, and then that'll be the next investigation. Like, where did this guy go? And then Rami hits him in the face with a shovel once in the face. It's not even like in his head. It's almost like a slap, and the guy just dies.
Well, you know what happened, right? So Warner Brothers has this thing in their contract where Jared Leto can only be in movies for 6 minutes, and Rami Malek
they had to get him out of there
as he was digging. You know, Hancock, being the great director that he is, he said, "Hey, Jared's only got 5 seconds left in this movie contractually, so you're gonna have to take care of this." And he hit him with the shovel, and that was the end of that. And then Denzel shows up. Long story short, Denzel helps him hide the body, even though Rami Malek decides to dig 40 more holes before hiding the body. So, yeah, very, very strange. But, yeah, so it turns out that by the end of the movie, Jared Leto may not be the killer, and that Denzel has killed someone before accidentally, which has nothing to do with him being a killer or anything. It was just an accident.
Right. He was literally a cop on duty, and someone came out and startled him, and he shot them. Like, literally could happen to any cop at any time. And it
wasn't like this
him for
twist.
life.
Yeah, it wasn't like this twist that like, oh, Denzel's the killer. No, it was just like, oh, he made a mistake before, and now he's helping somebody else make up for making a mistake.
I'm pretty sure that if Denzel was actually the killer in this movie, I would give it 10 out of 10. Because that would be a twist you'd never see coming in a billion years.
Or Rami Malek.
Or Rami Malek, yeah.
He was
either anyone, or even finding out who the killer is might have been cool, but you still don't, because in Denzel and his infinite wisdom to help Rami Malek goes and then, takes everything out of, Jared Leto's apartment, cleans it up, puts a red beret on there because there was a red beret at one of the other crime scenes. Like they just make it all go away. And then literally it says "The End," directed by John Lee Hancock. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? This was literally the worst thing I've seen since Joker 2019. Like,
I enjoyed going back through it. It was very therapeutic for me. I've been holding on to these to this anger for a couple weeks now since I've seen it. So I'm glad that we got the chance to talk about this. But yeah, I'm gonna give it my official score. 1 out of 10.
Okay.
There are worse movies out there for sure, and I could see people who didn't expect anything from this, that are really into the Law and Order stuff, that they found it to be fine. I was so offended that it was made and that they wasted my time, and with all the things that we talked about, that to me it doesn't deserve to live. So
yes, I would tend to agree with you there. I'm going to actually give this a 0 out of 10. It's in a category I rarely go to give something this bad of a movie, of a ranking, but to have these three actors in it so poorly utilized is what takes away the half point I would give it as just a standard movie.
So I think
because they knew in it, like you said, they knew in it that it was terrible, and they were just like, I'm just going to say my lines and get paid and get the hell out of here, because that's what I would have done.
So I think there's value. So, on this podcast, we're going to have something called the Made for Movies Hall of Fame, where we look at movies that have come out a couple years ago to even, 30 years ago that we're going to be inducting and kind of doing a deep dive into. We also have the Hall of Shame, which are movies that are absolutely terrible but have some watchability to them. And I think this one has a good drinking game in here, like drink every time Rami Malek is, psychopath, or Denzel says the little things. So I think it's worth a watch in the sense that if you know what you're going into, it's kind of a funny movie, but not for any reason that they thought it was going to be. And definitely not for Black Anus. Or Chinese arithmetic
arousal.
Yeah,
which is, oh man. No, I'm glad to have another movie that I know I'll never watch it ever again, and this is it. But yeah, just check it out for what it's worth if you like these actors. But I would say avoid at all costs if need be.
Fair enough.
And that wraps it up for this episode, guys. I really appreciate the listenership, all 10 of you. We will be back very soon with another episode. So have a great one, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening to the Made for Movies podcast. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to send us your thoughts and opinions on these movies that we've discussed, your rankings, any movies you want to see, any movies you'd like us to review. Please shoot us a note. You can find our info on our website, which is madeformovies.com, our Instagram, which is Made for Movies Podcast. And we really hope you liked it, guys. Have a great day. See ya.